once again, J76NY here, and we are playing Suzerain Rizia. Fellow Traveler and Torpor Games has yet to disappoint in their productions. I'm really enjoying the playthrough, despite the fact that the war for us went complete disaster. We are going to continue on through the end of this story and see how things play out. Right now we've got a couple of actions to attend to. We've got this one, abolish the House of Delegates. I'm not really sure that's a good idea, but we'll see how this goes. The Battle of Navarre Castle. Response to the attack on Navarre Castle. The Navarre Castle, one of our most well-preserved from the Resnet area, has been the target of a savage bomb attack, igniting a firestorm that severely damaged the building. The attack on such a culturally significant site has caused outrage across the country, as it was an attack on the cultural heritage of our country. Use the incident to bolster national unity. Palais attacks National Heritage Site. Cultural savages across our southern border have bombed Navarre Castle, causing a firestorm that severely damaged the ancient Resned Palace. This is a clear war crime targeting significant historical sites against the rule of war and attack on our joint heritage. Once Duke Reinhardt's destructive reign is over, we will no longer have to worry about such an indiscriminate attack. Well, I don't know if I'm going to abolish the House of Delegates. The House of Delegates has long stood as a ceremonial body within Rizia's governance, comprising two parties that serves only as a perfunctory role in the Rizian government, and many members of the nobility view it as wholly unnecessary. Calls for its abolition have surged, with advocates arguing for a streamlined, efficient government leading towards an absolute monarchy. +5 to the authority, wow. But I am kind of leaning in the direction of being a little more of a man of the people. Let's keep it. Negotiations with President Smolak. Oh boy. This is about the Zille handover. My eyes remained locked on an enormous airship moored at a blimp base on the outskirts of the presidential palace in Rocklawitz, Wayland's capital. Sleek form dominated the skyline. Standing before it, I absorbed the sight of President Smolak's imposing image prominently displayed on its side alongside the flag of Wayland and bold proclamations of Wayland's rise to prominence. With Smolak at the helm, Wayland soars to new heights. I had been invited here for a long overdue discussion regarding the return of Zille. However, my host was nowhere in sight. Flanked by golden guardsmen, I eventually made my way up to the red carpet stretching from my motorcade to the airship's gondola, past a dozen or so young women in impeccably pressed uniforms. The interior of the ship was adorned with lavish blue and white drapes cascading from floor-to-ceiling windows. Plush magenta seats lined the cabin, each embellished with opulent tassels and cushion embroidered with the Wayland crest. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, casting a dazzling array of light across the space. The gondola cabin practically screamed excess to the point of absurdity. And there, standing amongst it all, was the man of the hour, Wiktor Smolak. Welcome aboard, Your Majesty. So glad you could join me. It was then I noticed that he was carrying a baby who couldn't have been more than a year old. Like even presidents have to multitask these days. You don't know the half of it. After 11 daughters, courtesy of my 8 wives, all of whom I'm still married to, I finally have a boy. Meet Wiktor Smolak II. We're having a father-son weekend. How heartwarming. Let's talk about Zille. Patience is a virtue, Your Majesty. We haven't even taken off yet. It was then that I felt the airship begin its ascent. I looked out the window as the sprawling capital city beneath us became smaller and smaller. Shall we get to it then? What's the rush? We've got plenty of time to talk. We've got a long flight ahead of us. By all means, relax and enjoy yourself. I'll be back later once I spend some quality time with the kid. Okay. Several hours later, I woke up to the sight of a vast expanse of ocean appearing over the horizon. I had fallen asleep in one of the lounge chairs on the observation deck. I hope you had a good rest, Your Majesty. Would you care for a drink? We've got everything. Coffee, please. We made our way to the private room where drinks were already set out for us. Even the baby had a bottle waiting for him. We took our seats in front of the window with the view just as fantastic as before. Traveling in style. Cheers. You're the first world leader to share a ride in my airship. Because I'm the only one that didn't turn down your invitation? Actually, yes. Nobody wants to go anywhere outside their council room walls. Everyone's so official and by the book. I could invite Prime Minister Alvarez here, but he'd pay more attention to the liquor than the view. And Queen Beatrice? Forget about it. It's as if they don't want to be friends, not like us. Do friends go over to each other's homes only to become permanent residents, rearrange the furniture, dictate house rules, and never leave? I see what you did there. Well, dude, you walked right into it. Everyone wants to get right to talking about Zille. Very well then, let's do it. Smolak sipped his drink before pulling out a cocktail napkin from his jacket pocket. There was vague scribbling on it. As you can see, I made a few notes ahead of time, though it's a bit hard to read. Helps me be direct and to the point. Then allow me to be direct and to the point. I'm here to ensure the removal of Wayland forces from the territory of Zille. I hope this effort hasn't been in vain. Smolak's expression turned cold. I'll be the judge of that. A brief moment of tension quickly subsided with a flash of the president's trademark smile. Well, what are we waiting for? Let's get to it. So where would you like to begin? Trade deals, security packs? Ah, that's right. We never came to an agreement over Zille. If that's the case, we can just skip ahead and get to the heart of the matter. He picked up a nearby telephone and spoke into it. Before long, a woman came in and took baby Wiktor away. I think we can make this brief. Our meeting 3 years ago didn't exactly fill me with confidence about Zille's security. It was as if Rizia didn't respect Wayland or her wishes at all. I left questioning whether or not Rizia could be trusted to uphold agreements. Dude, you backed out of passing over the territory. Oh, I hate this guy. Words, words, words. That's all I'm hearing. Just get to the point. Tell me if you'll uphold the treaty. I assure you we can. That is yet to be determined. We are no closer to finding a culprit for Friendship Day bombing than we were 5 years ago. It troubles me that you still haven't come to your senses regarding your one-sided relationship with Rumberg. I'll admit that I'm disappointed you've kept your anti-Wessex cousin in power all this time. I need to think about this for a second. So what do we say? Does Rizia meet your criteria for friendship? Where does that leave us? Leave us? Well, the way I see it, he halted mid-sentence, seemingly captivated by the view outside the window. He stood up and approached the glass. Turning to see what had caught his attention, my gaze caught the rays of the setting sun traveling across an open body of water, illuminating an all-too-familiar city on distant shores. Your Majesty, may I present Zille? You're always one for theatrics. I'm impressed. Why, thank you, Your Majesty. I do try to keep the drama at a royal level. The sight of Zille takes my breath away every time I see it. But given everything we've just discussed, I'm afraid I simply can't hand it over to you. How surprising. However, I'll tell you what I will do. Because I'm a nice guy, I'm willing to let the people of Zille decide their leadership for themselves. You want Zille to uphold a referendum on reunification, I presume? Precisely. The way I see it, it should be up to the people of Zille to decide. Who are we to dictate their destiny without consent? Coming from someone who governs with an iron fist, I find your concerns for democratic principles utterly fascinating. Allowing the people of Zille to decide their fate independently could lead to destabilization. I'm surprised to hear you advocating for democratic principles. For once, you and I see eye to eye. Leave it to the people to decide. I'm listening. The way I see it, a decision of this magnitude that goes against the will of the people will merely breed resentment and dissension. Not a bad point. Having a choice in the matter is crucial. Let the people of Zille have their say. My faith tells me they will make the right decision. Come now, Your Majesty, there's no need to look so despairing. This referendum is a step forward for both our nations, regardless of the outcome. Let's embrace it as an opportunity for progress and mutual understanding. We passed the rest of our weekend soaring through the skies on Smolak's airship. A whole weekend with this guy? Good Lord, I'm glad I don't have to actually go through that. As we sipped on fine wine and engaged in conversation, the significance of our diplomatic negotiation for Zille's return began to dawn on me. However, it wasn't until after our descent during my journey back to Rizia that I was struck by the full weight of what I had agreed to. Oh? Zille's return, diplomatic standstill. King Romus journeyed to Wayland for a vital meeting with the President Smolak regarding Zille's return. To the Crown's dismay, Smolak diverted attention with an airship tour during negotiations. Despite efforts, an agreement for Zille return remained elusive. Can we kind of come to some type of agreement? Thought we did. The Aliiance of Nations meeting. This is going to be good. Royal convoy finally arrived at the entrance to the Aliiance of Nations headquarters in Constantinium. I looked around. Of all the leaders gathered here, we'd made the most grandiose entrance by far. I felt good about today. Voice over the loudspeaker announced that it was time to take our seats. I smiled before entering the fray. After the usual greetings, Lorenzo and I settled at our table in the conference hall. He leaned over and whispered in my ear, "Here we go, Your Majesty." I'm confident in this session. Not really, but the man I recognized as President Nines approached the podium. The introduction to the session followed. With the hit of the gavel, President Nines announced the opening of the session. The next speaker was announced, Prime Minister Patricio Alvarez of Lesbia. Thank you, President Nines. Ladies and gentlemen, leaders of the world, I stand here to hold the Kingdom of Rizia accountable for the crimes they've committed in South Mercopa. A roar of outrage and confusion rose in the chamber. Lorenzo and I looked at each other, just as I expected. Yes, Rizia is guilty. President Nines hit the gavel. Guilty of waging a destructive war marked by military failure. Guilty of displacing enough people to cause refugee waves across the continent. I got up from my seat and interrupted him. Our war in Palais is completely justified. You are saying this because of your interest. Do not listen to this clown. Lies, slander. We'll go with the first one. The crowd in the chamber roared louder. I heard some voices telling me to sit down and others telling me to go on. I demand the continuation of my speech. President Nines hit the gavel many times until there was silence. He gestured for Alvarez to continue. Ladies and gentlemen of the Aliiance of Nations, we do not want war in Mercopa, we want peace. But that peace has been sabotaged by the archaic methods of this kingdom. We have all read the headlines and watched the television broadcasts. We have seen the horrific images. They have murdered women and children alike. They're burning villages, schools, hospitals, for God's sake. Are we expected to stand back and watch this humanitarian crisis unfold right before our eyes? Are we expected to be complicit in these crimes against humanity? I say no. He hit the podium with a stack of papers. Ladies and gentlemen, leaders of the world, Lesbia is hereby officially calling for heavy sanctions on this war-mongering nation. We ask anyone with a conscience to vote in favor of them. Thank you. Commotion in the hall grew even louder as Alvarez left the stage. This does not look good, Your Majesty. Rumberg won't let us down. Rumberg's influence in this room is waning, sadly. The Queen's support may not be enough. Look, it's starting. President Nines announced the vote for the sanctions to begin. Cast my vote. I said nay and sat back down. Ayes and nays followed from different direction. With every aye, I winced. Wow, look at all these people. Oh my God, we're going to go through all of them. Aye. Abstain. Good job, Anton. Aye. Abstain. Who the hell is this? Chairman of United Cantana? Wow. Chevatanga Kauna. Aye. So what do we got here? One. Let's count them. I guess I can't go all the way up. Only a few member states were left. They all cast their votes. President Nines hit the gavel to stop the commotion and announce the results. The world against us. Not exactly a good Steam achievement to get. But I got it nonetheless. The ayes had it. By a huge margin, Rizia would be heavily sanctioned by the Aliiance of Nations member states. Lorento turned to me with a grim look. This is worse than I thought, Your Majesty. Far worse. I can't believe this. Nor can I. President Nines signaled a 10-minute break. After the break, we returned to the chamber. Martin Van Horten, Prime Minister of Agnolia, was summoned to the stage. I looked around the room. The attendees' attention had begun to flag. A few didn't even bother to disguise their yawns. Thank you, President Nines. Good morning. It is an honor to see you all in this chamber. The Aliiance of Nations and its position is paramount to maintaining peace in the world. It is the sole organization that can bring all of us together. Not only for constructive discussion, but for collective problem solving. With our combined will and desire for justice, there is no issue we cannot resolve. I therefore ask for your assistance in the fair and just resolution of a dilemma faced by my proud nation of Agnola. It concerns Helgi Island. Upon hearing the name of the island, everyone in the room woke up and sprang to attention. I heard Lorento mutter under his breath. This again, we're in for an interesting time. What do you mean? He's reigniting Agnolia's feud with Volxland. If you ask me, now is neither the time nor the place. The innocent Agnolians living on the island are currently living under the long shadow cast by Volxland. Their territorial ambitions know no bounds. So at least we know where all of this fits in with the main game story of Suzerain. Helgi Island is a vital piece of our heritage that Chancellor Hagel is trying to take away from us by force. I pose you this question. What would you have done if it was your own land under threat? Our eyes randomly met before he turned his gaze away. How did you vote? You voted aye. The place where your great-grandfather was born, where your father was born. Would you not defend it? Would you not protect it with your lives? He has a point. Agnolia has no chance. Volxland won't stand for it. For peace in Eastern Marcopia, Helgeland has to be recognized as Agnolian. Don't forget, if you tolerate this happening to us, your own nation will be next. I urge you to do the right thing. Thank you. I could see that America Hagel had a smirk on his face. He seemed confident. President Nines declared the voting to begin on the matter. Nay. Aye. Abstain. Aye. What are we voting on? Nay. Aye. Nay. 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 It's my turn to vote. Nay. The voting concluded and President Nines took his seat. The result was nay by a landslide. Defeated, Martin Van Horten shook his head in disbelief. His shoulders dropped. Who knew how he felt in that moment? Nines signaled for a break. Another break. Lorento stood up and catch a minister he wanted to talk to. I enjoyed the Crucian circular pastry with sesame seeds, apparently named Regjev. That was handed out as a snack as we waited for the session to continue. Okay. Heavy sanctions. -14 per turn. That's so not good. Wow. Although not surprising at all. Deficit from low energy prices. Treacherous Lesbia forces a sanction vote. Leave it there for a second so you can read it. You'd like. Circling over Stallport. Patricio Alvarez, the Prime Minister of Lesbia, on his scheduled visit to the Republic of Agnolia to meet Prime Minister Van Horten, had failed to get off the plane when it landed in Stallport Airport. It is believed that he had been too drunk to get off the plane. Anne votes against recognizing Helgeland as Agnolian. Anne imposes heavy sanctions on Rizia. Recent drop in global energy prices had led to a significant decrease in energy export incomes, leading to concerning loss of our national budget. This problem presents a significant problem as we can't strategically allocate treasury resources elsewhere. We can complain. Oh, what that's supposed to mean. Global energy prices lowest in years. Good for the vacationing swords, I guess. Cheaper to get here. Nighttime at the palace. It was late at night at Palace Resna. After an endless day of war briefings and strategy planning sessions, I was looking forward to collapsing in my bed. First, though, I decided to take a walk in the palace gardens to clear my head. I had just stepped onto the grounds when I bumped into Lucita. Oh, hello, Your Majesty. I was just reviewing our latest battle plans. Sounds like you're in urgent need of stress relief. Come on, let's take a walk. We strolled further into the gardens. It was a balmy night and the moon was just beginning to rise. Under cover of darkness, Lucita slipped her hand into mine. I was skeptical at first, but your daughter has really come into her own as a counselor. I still remembering attending the celebration when she was born. Her mother looked so gorgeous. Poor Lena, she never got to see her daughter become a woman. She lives on in her highness, and in her progeny, whoever they may be. We had come to a clearing in the middle of the garden. To the left was a stone bench. The moon was risen by now, illuminating Lucita's features. I thought about everything we'd been through together. Thought about her position as counselor. Her interim status had lasted longer than expected, but it was nearly time for her father to return. I thought about how, as of tomorrow, the heir to the throne of Rizia would not be a member of House Taurus. So I guess, Manus didn't die. Oh, he's getting married tomorrow. Okay. Neil, I wonder what... Okay, we'll go with it. I knelt on the ground. Lucita's eyes widened. She looked at me questioningly. In the presence of the heavens above and the earth below, I do extend unto thee an offer of marriage. Are you able to bear children? Do you love me? Let's see if she says yes. Clapped a hand to her mouth. It was a second before she replied. Is it unromantic of me to ask why? I need another heir, preferably a boy. Oh, wow. With my command of the Rizian government and your command of the military will be unstoppable. Don't ask why, just say yes. I loved you since the moment you entered my council chambers. I loved you since before we even met. He reached down, grabbed the back of my head, and pulled my face level with hers. Yes, King Romus, I will marry you. We kissed with such force that we were nearly toppled to the ground. Wonder if any of the guards were watching. Wait, I have an idea. He took my hand and pulled me towards the palace. He led me through the ground floor corridors until we came to the entrance to Sal Ignatius's quarters. You want to wake the old man up now? I think I see where this is going. Put a finger to her lips and quietly rapped on the door. After almost a minute, it creaked open. Sal stood there in his dressing gown. Your Majesty, Your Grace, is there an emergency? Lucita took my hand and stepped forward. Grand Wiseman, His Majesty and I are in love and wish for you to sanctify our union by sacrament of marriage. Now. He rubbed his eyes. This is most unorthodox. Your Grace has spoken correctly. As your king, I command you to perform the ceremony. Yeah, of course. Give me a minute. I still have Lena's wedding ring. Let me fetch it. Was this how you always dreamed your wedding would be? Right now, right down to the grass stains on my dress. Oh boy. The door opened and Sale beckoned us inside. Because we are not in a church, some sacred traditions will have to be foregone. But your marriage shall still be valid before the Lord and the law. Please join hands. Clasped Lucita's hand in mine as we stood side by side in front of Sale. He opened an ancient-looking scroll and read from it. Almighty and ever-living God, who in thy infinite wisdom has blessed the union of two hearts in holy wedlock, look kindly upon His Majesty Romus Taurus and Duchess Lucita Azaro, who stand before thee, seeking thy blessing. In this sacred covenant, love and duty converge to forge a legacy that transcends the temporal realm. Let it be known that in the heart of such a union, the virtues of loyalty, honor, and commitment are the true jewels that adorn the crown of matrimonial success. The royal orb was on his desk. He picked it up and motioned for us to place our hands on it. Now repeat after me. I, Romus Taurus. I want to say my own vows. Dale raised an eyebrow. Again, highly orthodox. But it won't nullify the marriage. Lucita, I claim you not as my queen, but an ironclad partner to my reign. As the memory of my child, Gerald, I'm not going to bring up my dead wife. There we go. As we defend our kingdom from the hordes of enemies, so shall we champion one another. I vow to honor the bond we have created with kindness and patience. Let our marriage be the foundation upon which we build a legacy of peace and prosperity for our kingdom and the generations to follow. There we go. Dale cast his gaze over both of us. He looked genuinely moved. Thank you, Your Majesty. Would you like to do the same? Lucita was struggling to fight back tears. Eventually, she brought herself to speak. As the queen on a chessboard guards her king, so do I vow to protect you in this kingdom, Romus Taurus. That's it? Cheap. I got shortchanged. Oh well, you can make it up to me later. The soil is infused with the protection of our Lord and the strength and blessing of our ancestors. As you anoint one another, be reminded of your promise to serve each other, the Lord, in this realm. I dipped a finger in the oil and lightly touched Lucita's forehead. She did the same for me. Ancient-looking rings. These were salvaged from the Plavo crypt. I don't know who they belong to. They belong to House Azaro, Grandwoman. That much is certain. Taurus King with an Azaro ring. I shall keep your house with mine at all times. Kind of goes with what I was intending, this whole thing here. As we exchanged rings, I looked deep into Lucita's eyes. They were like bottomless pools, concealing the future of the kingdom somewhere within their depths. By the power vested in me through the divine grace and the laws that govern our land, I now pronounce you husband and wife. In accordance with tradition, you may now seal your vows with a kiss. I was a married man. This time by choice. Alright, I guess. What do you say about all this? Queen Beatrice demands reparations for centuries-old alleged war crimes. From Swordland. Here we go with the main body. If I remember, when I edit this video, I will link to seasons 1 and 2 in the playlist. But for right now, we're going to call this one to a close. We got royally hosed with the Aliiance of Nations. We have sanctions now. I don't remember what the little Steam achievement said, but that's probably going to be the title for this episode. And then in the next episode, we're going to move on to the next part. Anyway, if you like the episode, hit the like button. If you have any thoughts, tips, or advice, leave those in the comment section down below. If you want to follow along through King Romus Taurus Azaro, hit the subscribe, and we will see you when we pick this up in the next episode. Day76NY saying thank you very much for watching, and have yourself a very good day.